that I know who are still married
And
or
that's
married
exhausting.
really young, or they got married in college, and we've been friends on Facebook forever, and it's now their so many year, 20 years something, 30-year anniversary for their wedding, and it's incredible. And but that doesn't happen to everyone. That's
No,
almost the rarity now.
no, yes.
And so I think it's really important to choose yourself.
Yeah, but even when you choose yourself, also, I think marriages, in my case, all this marriage teach me everything. Like teach me more about me and why I'm choosing all this. This men with a different name, but it's same traits. And it's not is I'm not gonna blame on them because I know I take full responsibility in myself of what was my part in the relationship. But deep inside, I knew that all these marriages was always for survival mode, because I already study about why I married so many times, and doesn't mean I'm judging myself and oh my god, I marry many times. 'Cause in fact, they judge me many times because I marry many times, and they, oh my god, you probably have a problem, you probably very unstable because you cannot keep a husband. And in my case, I can't keep their husband. The point is, I got into a point that I saw a very early stage of the marriage that the thing is not gonna go far. And for people who don't know me, I'm a survivor for a kidnap situation. So when I was kidnapped, I promised myself that I would never, never, never gonna lose time with anything or with anybody. So every time I was going into a relationship, it was like, yes, I put all the cards for myself, like giving all my soul to the relationship. But also I was like you, like, oh my god, imagination with the best marriage, and like flowers, and like romantic thing that is it could be true, but it's not the true. You need to work a lot your marriage to be able to be functional. And a lot of men, and I'm not saying that all men, but a lot of men don't like to put the effort in anything, and they just think that the marriage is just like that, when you need to have a lot of work in communication, because we are two different worlds that come with different families. So we need to come together and talk about it, and to learn about the other person. And some men don't want to do that.
I mean, so I think divorce too, since we are talking about men and women at the moment, and I know
Mm.
that a large percentage of my audience is men, go through divorce, and it affects us both tremendously, and in different ways,
Yes.
depending on who has asked for the divorce or if it's a mutual decision, because those are very different scenarios. And the perfect ideal is obviously not getting a divorce and working through all of
Exactly.
the issues. But if you cannot do that, okay, you want to have a mutual, that's the goal. Like the next best option is being able to talk to one another and coming to the conclusion that the marriage is not working, and
Yes.
what you want to do and how to proceed, and proceeding amicably. And that's why for my second relationship that had to end in divorce, unfortunately, I went with Catherine Woodward's conscious uncoupling. You can find it on YouTube. I will link it. I'll go back in and link it. A link to her TED Talk in the description box, for those of you who want to see it. And if you do want me to do that, make sure you put a thumbs up in the message chat, so I know that you want to see that. But it taught me in my second divorce to um, break up in an amicable way, because the philosophy is kind of, the way you break up, you end one relationship, affects the way your next relationship.
Yeah.
So it's important, and you want to try to break up amicably as best as you can, especially if you have kids. And I'm not saying it was easy, it was hard. And a lot of the times I was live on Hot Topics Live going through that process. I spoke about it on lots of episodes. You can find them on YouTube or the Facebook page or the audio version of the podcast on Spotify and Apple. But it I was going through it in real time on this podcast. And it was very, very, very difficult. It was not always easy. There were a lot of highs and lows, but we made it through. And I'm happy to say that we co parent pretty well together. We get along pretty well. I mean, obviously, there's going to be bumps in the road with any relationship, but
Of
for the
course.
most part, we do very, very well together. And I'm super proud of that. But sometimes, for him, the divorce was very different. The breakup was very, very different. And if it's not divorce, I mean, consider breakup. Just put it in where if you've been in a long-term relationship and you're not married, but you decide you're going to dissolve the connection, it's a lot like a divorce. It's a divorce feels like for men and women, someone's died, but they're still alive.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
you go through all the grief and the
Yes.
pain. And men, um, because of how they've been conditioned and programmed, I can go down a rabbit hole of the patriarchal society, but I'm not going to, because a lot of times they're not have not been given the space to process their feelings and emotions in the healthiest of ways. Divorce impacts them almost worse than women.
Yeah, but I don't hear them talking about it, because like in my case, for my last husband, when I asked him for divorce, he said, "Okay." And he ran with it. He ran with it. Like, he never asked, like, why we are divorcing or why we doing this. None. He just let me make the decision, and that's it. And that for me was like painful, because you are waiting for the other person to respond, to say, okay, why we are getting divorced, or what is the reason, blah blah blah, whatever. But he never did that. And he went into completely silence, and we went to a very peaceful divorce, because I always end my relationships like better than best friends, because that's my style. And that's the way I am. I don't like to fight. As I always say, we fight a lot enough in the relationship. Why we gonna continue fighting when we ask for divorce? When we ask for divorce, it's because we just don't want to fight anymore. So for me, it was 2 years. This 2 years is being harder, very hard for me. And I knew we didn't have the best relationship, but it it was 14 years. It was the longest relationship in my entire life, and it was devastating. And remember, Kia, I was crying all the time, like all the time, and like doubting my decision, like, if I really did this. I want to get divorced. Sometimes yes, I want to get divorced, or yes, this is the right decision. Sometimes no, this is not the right decision. Is and sometimes I already passed that part, but it's still like I'm close to be official. I still have that, like, a little bit anxious. And I know I already passed 2 years, but I still a little bit anxious about that.
The decision to get divorced is one of the hardest ones I think you'll ever make in your life. I mean,
Yes.
it's tough to break up, right?
Yes.
But a divorce, it has a whole nother level of emotion and fear. There's so much fear of the unknown. You just don't know what life is going to look like. That's why I'm like, I should coach people because I've been through it. And I know that on the other side of the divorce, if you allow it, life can be so much better.
Yeah.
If you process through the pain and you don't try to avoid it. So, which brings me back to your husband, your ex-husband. And when you were saying he just didn't say anything, I know that as a woman, that's really painful because you always want to feel like the guy is going to fight for you,
Yes.
right? You want him to be like, a divorce?
Right.
No,
No.
please, I'll do anything, right?
Right.
But that doesn't always happen. Sometimes they're like, okay, glad you said it. I'm not the one
Exactly.
who had to say, like, I don't have to feel like I'm the bad guy because I'm not the one who said, let's get a divorce. You know,
Yes.
and you're like, okay, I can't put that cat back in the bag. Right? Like, it's out there now. So I got to roll with it.
Yes.
But I think for him though, I think that some men just go within. You know what I mean? Like they internalize. So of course he's not going to be, because they haven't been taught that it's okay to be like, this is breaking my heart, and crying and like,
Right.
I'm so sad. Cause I mean, sometimes the guy asks for the divorce and the woman is blindsided. I've known many women who were like, you want a divorce? Or something is a catalyst, right? Infidelity. And your
Mhm.
firm boundary is no cheating. That's one for me. It is a deal
Well,
breaker if
yes.
you cheat.
Exactly. For
I
me too.
no tea, no shade, no shame, no judgment to anyone who's like, we can work this out because I know it's possible. I've seen it. But for me, if you cheat on me, I will never trust you again. And I don't want to go through that process. It's a long process of rebuilding that trust and working on that
Ah,
and getting back to, I don't want to do it. I'm sorry. I
no.
don't want to do all that. So
No.
if
I
you cheat,
know.
we're done, right? And so there's a lot of reasons why people can choose to get a divorce and want a divorce, right? But the decision is always super difficult,
Yes.
even if you want it. And what's even harder is telling the other person.
Oh, yes.
Sometimes, if you're with a crazy narcissist, like borderline psychopath personality, and you tell them that the relationship or the marriage is over, your life is in danger.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So
Yes.
this is so serious. You have to be so careful, and even telling the person that you want a divorce. Right? You have, and you sometimes you need to have a plan in place. You can't just wake up one day because maybe you're not financially capable of standing on your own. My first marriage, I was a housewife. I
Mind
know
you.
it was a modern era, and I was like probably the only housewife I knew at the time. But I was. So financially, and actually I had been working a little bit, and I had got laid off of my job, and so I was taking my time to find something new and decide what I really wanted to be doing for work. And and that's when it happened. And so it's sometimes you have to put a plan in place in order to get onto your own 2 feet. Or you have to start thinking about, how am I going to divide these assets up? Like, what am I losing and what am I gaining? What is my, there's a loss here. Not just the loss of the relationship.
It changed everything. It
Mhm.
changed everything. Like for me, it was that fear. Like I know a lot of things are gonna go. A lot of things are my status or the way I live is some of them is gonna go.
Mhm.
And I was like 40 years married, and he told me when we was like 3 years in that I don't need to work, that I do whatever I want to do. And I start studying and do a lot of stuff, but I was not uh, directly providing. I was providing in another way, but I was not like making the money. We was making the money because we did have a company together. And when I was thinking to ask for divorce, that was my thoughts. Oh my God, I have a long time sitting in my